Well, hello everyone, welcome back. Over the next month or so, I'm gonna be doing a couple things. First of all, I'm gonna be doing some canning, and one of those is gonna be a collaboration, which I think is gonna be really fun. But also, I'm gonna be testing out different kinds of canning lids because let's face it, it's been hard to find lids, and the name brand ones haven't always been as reliable as they used to be. Mostly I've had good luck, but I've had a few batches of canning that I really wasn't happy with the performance of the lids and had to reprocess some things. It's also been a challenge finding lids for people and affordable lids. So over the next few weeks, what I want to do is try different lids and show you how they work, who they are, and maybe give you new sources to buy from that you feel comfortable with. Because honestly, I'm not real comfortable with buying much in the way of canning lids lately. So I'm going to try out several name brands and see what I think of them and tell you along the way. And so I think this is going to be great for everyone, and it's great for those companies also, because if they have quality products, it's going to show and you'll be able to have a little bit of confidence with buying them. So today, a while back, I bought a really old cookbook. One of the recipes that just really caught my attention, and I even mentioned it in a prior video and asked if anybody would be interested in that, and there was interest, and that is coffee jelly. And I had to think about that for a minute. Coffee jelly. Okay, what are you going to do with that? Well, there's some people out there that just really love their coffee. And this is going to be like having strong, sweet coffee on your toast or whatever. But it also got me thinking, how could I use it in a recipe? So I am going to make the coffee jelly today. And then in a future video, I hope to show how I would use it for an idea of how you can use this coffee jelly. You could give it as gifts. But it just sounded really interesting. So coffee jelly, and I'm also going to be testing out these ForJars canning lids. This is the lids and rings, and I have never used these before, so we're gonna see how they work today, and maybe I'll try and do a pressure canning video soon. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how my time goes, because it's really been challenging lately. But these are the ForJars canning lids and bands. And that's what the lid looks like. Here's what the underneath and the sealant. They do have the pop. It appears there's a wide enough ring of sealant on it, which is always a concern, because some of the ones I've seen the last few years, the sealant has gotten narrower and narrower. Now, it doesn't feel super heavy, but it does have a wide rim of sealant. I don't see any gaps in it, so that should work. And the ring is a ring. So let's get to work making coffee jelly, and then we're going to see how these ForJars canning lids do, and I will let you know. Now, most people would use a water bath canner for this, and this is a water bath canner, but it's also a combo, and it can be used as a steam canner. It has these little vents up here. There's this gauge on the top. And first of all, I like having the glass lid so you can keep an eye on things. But also, when you're steam canning, you don't have to use as much water. And all you have to do on this canner is turn this rack upside down. And I like to use, I have this silicone mat that I put on top, and that way for small jars, it keeps them level and you don't have any issues with it. But by using it as a steam canner, you use very little water, just to the bottom, just to underneath the top of the rack. That's it. So it's a lot faster to come up to time. You don't have to worry about having an inch or two of water above the jars. So I just love my steam canner. I almost never do water bath anymore. It takes too long. If I watch what I was doing. It takes too long, and it also is so heavy to lift. This one is not an issue at all. So I love my steam canner. I have put my jars in the steam canner to get them warm. I don't use my dishwasher. Being off-grid, you do things differently. Then you need 4 cups of very strong coffee. So I had Brian make this because he knows how to make really strong coffee. I don't do so much. And then we're going to add 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and this is bottled. I always use bottled lemon juice when I'm canning because it's a consistent acidity. So we're going to put those in this kind of heavy bottom pot. Stainless steel is what I like to use, but whatever you make your jams and jellies in. And I'm going to put it over a fairly high heat. Over here, make some room. I have 5½ cups of granulated sugar and 1 1/3 cups of pectin. Now this, after I read the recipe in that old cookbook, I did some research. I love Pomona's pectin, and that's what I use most of the time. However, I found a recipe and a blog that someone tried it repeatedly, and every time it would not set up. And what she decided that is that the calcium water, which is what helps Pomona pectin to gel, gets neutralized by the coffee. I would have never thought of that. So she found that a very special kind, this is Dutch gel pectin. And I found that on Amazon. That seems to work with this recipe. So we're going to combine the sugar and 5½ cups sugar and 1 1/3 cups of pectin. I'm going to punch it down first because that way the pectin doesn't fly away. All right, now we're going to wait for the coffee and lemon juice to come to a boil. The coffee mixture has come to a boil. Now I am going to pour all of this in at once. And I'm sorry it's back to you, but I'm right-handed. For 2 minutes, I'm going to whisk this and keep it on the high heat. Isn't it amazing how you can take 4 cups of liquid and pour in 5½ cups of sugar and 1 1/3 cups of pectin, and you've got about the same amount of liquid. That always amazed me. I'm easily amused, I guess. All of the dry ingredients are completely dissolved. I can't feel anything left in it. Now we're going to bring this back to a full rolling boil. We're at a full boil. I'm going to boil exactly for 1 minute. I'll turn off the heat and I'm going to move it over. Now there's some foam on this, so I'm going to skim off the foam. You don't have to, but it sure looks better that way. I had my jars in the canner getting warm, along with the water getting that warm. And these are 1/2 pint jars. And for jellies, you go 1/4 inch headspace. Now I'm going to use some water on a paper towel. And this is hot. And I'm going to clean the rims and a little bit on the rings because this is sticky. And if any got outside, it's going to sure be difficult getting the ring off. So clean the rim well, clean the threads. Now, ForJars does not say to heat the lids. Most don't now. So I'm going to just put that on there. Center the lid. Put the ring on finger tight. And there is coffee jelly. I'm going to put this in the canner and get another jar. And the puppy Bacon Bits has been banished to the outside while I'm doing this because he tends to be loud and rambunctious. And I don't really want that when I'm canning. But boy, he's a cute little puppy. Clean the rim well. Put on the lid. Center it and add the ring. Finger tight. And in the canner. I'm going to finish filling my jars and then we'll come back and tell you how many I got and what I think so far. I have all the jars filled and in the canner. I got 8 1/2 pints out of this, which when you think about 4 cups. That to me sounds right. So, and I have just a little bit left, and we're going to give it a taste and see what it's like and get this canner going. So I've got the water heating. I'm going to turn up the heat. And once this gauge, let me see, gotta turn it so it's the right way. Once this gauge gets into the middle green section, that's for my altitude, that's when I will start the timer. I had just a little bit left over, so we're gonna do the taste test on this. And this is starting to set up a little, so and we'll see what it tastes like. It pretty coffee color. Interesting, it's a strong coffee taste. Sweet. But it also has that tang of lemon, which is actually good. I didn't know if you were going to taste it, and I didn't know how it was going to taste. I like it. I'm going to bring that up to temperature, let it process for 10 minutes. The gauge has come up to temperature. You see the needle is in the green. And the recipe calls for 10 minutes processing. I am at 5,200 feet elevation, so I have to add 10 minutes to the processing time. So I'm going to process for 20 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat down just a bit, just to keep it at that temperature, but it doesn't need to be boiling away. So we'll come back in 20 minutes. Now, if you're new to canning, there's nothing to be afraid of. But what you do need to do is be very meticulous and follow the recipe. I would say follow approved recipes. This one I'm not finding in the books, so, but jelly is high acid, so I'm gonna think it's okay. You need to know your altitude. It's very, very important. That will affect your processing time. If you're pressure canning, it's going to affect the pressure that you process at. You need to follow the recipe's instructions, the ingredients. Minor changes are okay, but you just need to make sure that you're not making any substantial difference in the amount of acid in the product. In fact, in this recipe, adding the lemon juice is required because that adds the acidity to it. However, and I was not sure how that was going to taste, but you know what? I liked it. I thought it was good. So be sure and follow your recipes step by step. If you're new, and even if you're not, there is a canning app that you can get on your phone, and it's very helpful. It is, I think, I'm going to say Oregon State University put it out, but I'm not 100%. It was one of the extension services, and it will walk you through whatever you're doing, whether you are water bath, pressure canning, whether you are canning meats, jellies, vegetables, fruits, whatever it is, the app will walk you through it. Down to timing and what equipment you want to have handy, everything is in that app. So canning app and timer, I believe is what it's called, but go check it out because it's very helpful. use good quality jars and always check them. Hold them up to the light, turn them, make sure you don't see any real flaws in them. Make sure run your finger around the rim. Make sure there's no cracks or chips because that will affect your seal. And there's nothing worse than a jar breaking in the canner or all this work and time and money and your product doesn't seal. So that gets to using quality lids. And right now that's become an issue. So far my impression on ForJars canning lids is really good. I didn't see flaws in the sealant, and I have seen that recently. They are a good weight as far as the weight of the metal and the weight of the lid. And I like my lids to pop. Old-fashioned maybe, but I like that because that's kind of an indication that you've got a seal. Sorry, I'm seeing something weird flying back and forth across my back windows. Distracted squirrel. So you need to make sure that you visually inspect everything, including your lids and rings. You don't want dented or rusted rings. Use your lids one time only. Some people choose to bend that rule. I don't. I use my lids one time. When you're taking your jars out of the canner, don't be anxious. Take your time. And we'll go over how to take your jars out to prevent siphoning, which is when your product comes out of the jar between the lid and the ring and gets in your canner. And that will cause false seals also. So take your time, do it properly. My timer has gone off. I had it set for 20 minutes for my altitude. For your altitude, it could be 10 or it's probably gonna be 10 minutes. But if you're over 3,000 feet, I believe, then you add 10 minutes to the processing time. So I'm gonna turn the burner off and I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes. And I'm just gonna let it sit there. It's been 5 minutes and I'm going to remove the lid. And you hear those jars popping? I'm hoping that's a really good sign that they all sealed. Why am I doing this so slowly? Can't you just take the jars out? And some people do, but what I have found is if you take the jars out too quickly, the jars cool off too fast and it creates this change in the equilibrium and they will siphon, which means your whatever's in the jars will start to come out underneath the seal. And that's not a good thing. So by doing this slowly, it's going to have a much better chance of sealing correctly. Now I've got 5 more minutes set with the lid off. I want these to slowly cool off a little bit before I remove them from the canner. So we'll come back in 5 minutes. The timer has gone off again. Now it's time to take the jars out of the canner. And there is the coffee jelly. You can see a little bit of light through it, but not a lot. It's pretty dark in color. I'm going to take these out and put them on a cloth. You never want to put them directly on your counter because the shock of the temperature cause your jars to break. And that would not be a good thing. And it's best if you don't have them in a draft. It's best if you just have it in a still place where they can very gradually cool off. I'm going to take this silicone mat out of the canner, and I want to show you there's still plenty of water left. You never want it to run dry, especially in a steam canner because you don't use as much water. But take a good look, and that water is clear. That's what you want to see. And if you have siphoning, that your water will not be clear. So this is always a good sign because I don't see anything in the water. Now I'm going to leave these jars undisturbed on my countertop on the cloth for 12 to 24 hours. Better is longer, just to give them time to completely cool and also to know if they are truly sealed. Leave the ring on, don't do anything to them, don't press on the top, nothing like that. Leave them undisturbed, and then in 12 to 24 hours you come back, remove the rings, and check for a seal. And we'll be doing that. Now, if you're interested in using the ForJars lids, so far they seem to be doing the job that I want them to do. We'll check that tomorrow, but if you're interested in using them, I will have a coupon code and a link below that you can save 10% on your order. So if you're interested, check that out. I'm back to check on this coffee jelly, and first let's take the rings off and see how they did. It was a little sticky, but you know what? That's a good seal. Now, what's disappointing is that pectin did not completely gel this. It did partially. So I am going to be reprocessing this with more pectin, but I'm going to leave a few jars like this because Brian actually told me, you know, this would be really, really good on ice cream. So these ForJars lids seem to do very good. So all of them are sealed. Now I'm going to wash the jars and dry them off, and we'll check it again. I've washed all the jars. Now I'm just going to dry them off. And I'll check the seal now that I've got them washed. There we go. They all sealed well. I have no doubt on any of these. Now, as I said, it didn't gel the way I wanted it to. I don't know if you could see. It's still pretty liquid. So I think I'm going to keep 1 or 2 jars And the rest I'm going to reprocess with more pectin. To reprocess this, first what I'm going to do is add 1/4 cup of water, and I'm going to do this in a large pot. 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, checking my measurements, and 4 teaspoons of the pectin. And I'm going to combine that. This is the amount you'll use for 4 cups. And I decided to go ahead and reprocess all 8 jars. So I'm just going to open them up. And you can see it's like a thick syrup. Now, why did this happen? Could be a number of reasons. I'm really not sure, but we're gonna try and fix it. And you can hear these are really well sealed. Now what's interesting is it partially gelled before I processed it. Now I'm going to stir it up, combine it, and I'm going to bring this to a boil. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go wash the jars and get them heating up in the canner. You want to bring this to a rolling boil over high heat. And a rolling boil shouldn't be able to stir it down. And that is a rolling boil. Now we're going to time it for 1 minute. And this you want to be at a hard boil, so that's where it will foam. And stir constantly. So this is real life. Things don't always work perfectly, and a good skill to have is to learn how to correct a problem or make the best use of it. And you can see it's really foaming here. And I've got a spoon that was in the freezer. And I'm going to tell you, it's not thick enough yet. And at this point, you can even add, and I'm going to have to turn it down just a bit, you can even add maybe 2 more teaspoons of pectin. And keep that at a boil for another minute. All right, we're gonna call this good. I'm not sure if it's set up or not. We're gonna find out. So I've turned off the heat. Take my hot jars out of the canner. And let's get them filled. I'm doing the exact same thing we did the first time. I'm going to fill each hot jar to 1/4 inch headspace. Wipe the rim and the threads just to be on the safe side. But I don't think I got anything on there, but I'm still going to wipe them. Put a fresh new lid. I'm really pleased with how the ForJars lids have done. Fingertip tight, and I'm going to put this in the canner. I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of the jars, and then I'll bring you back after we process. I finished reprocessing these last night, and I let them sit overnight, so they are ready to check them out. And I'm going to tell you, it looks like everything has sealed, but we're going to check it out. So there's one. Two. And if you're not familiar with this, I lift it up by the very edge of the metal lid. Now I'm always careful just in case it falls, but so far I have had 100% with these lids. That one. Now, because I reprocessed this, it took another 4 teaspoons of the pectin. It was crazy. I kept adding it and I kept boiling it so that I could get it thick. And we'll find out how it did. But every one of these sealed well. Now, this is what it looks like after 24 hours. It's much thicker than syrup, but we're going to check it out and see how it is. This jar was just slightly below. It was my last jar, so I only got 7 instead of 8. But this one didn't quite get full to 1/4 inch, so we're going to open this one. And my cat is down here trying to tell me I want some attention. You heard the seal. It's like a very thick honey. And again, this was an additional 4 teaspoons of pectin. But it's going to work for what I want to use it for, so that's okay. And we're going to taste it. It really is good. You really get a strong coffee flavor, a little bit of the lemon, not overly sweet, but it's good. What I will say is if you make this, add quite a bit more pectin than you think it needs. I'm going to say maybe a quarter cup extra of pectin. This is the pectin that was recommended for coffee, and it's still not totally set up, but it's going to make an amazing syrup. Put some waffles. You could put it on French toast, pancakes, English muffins, or you could put it on ice cream. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use it in a recipe soon, so I'm not going to tell you that. So I'm going to tell you that I'm very happy with my experience with the ForJars lids. I've had some rings that don't get rusty but kind of dull looking. These did not. They look just like they did when I took them out of the box. So again, 100% seal rate. And would I use these again? Yes, I would. Now, I'm going to do a giveaway for gift certificates for ForJars lids. And what I need you to do is go down below in the comments and tell me if you've used ForJars lids, if you have, what you like, what you don't like. And if you haven't used them, tell me if this is something you're interested in, what would you can with it? Give us information because we all need to share information. It helps everyone. And we will be giving away 2 $25 gift certificates for ForJars products. Leave your comment below and keep it positive, people. Let's be nice. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything. I hate to have to say that, but this is kind of the world we're living in, and I will delete comments that aren't appropriate. So thank you so much for watching and going along with my little experiment here. It just sounded too amazing not to try it. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you know when I upload videos, because I know a lot of people say they're subscribed, but they're not getting notifications. Unsubscribe, resubscribe, hit the little bell again. Sometimes you have to do that. It's stupid, but you know, it's YouTube. God bless, and we'll talk soon.